Is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
There are rising cases of sexual assault against boys, and there are rising cases, but there are also more reported cases of this. So we're going to talk about it today. It is uncomfortable, it is difficult, but guess what? It is absolutely necessary that we do. Joining us in the studio this morning, Frida Mutinda is a children's advocate. She's in the hot seat this morning. Good morning, Frida.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Sorry, we got into it really quickly, but we will definitely be able to explain more. Levis Kagere is an advocate of the High Court and a human rights advocate also in the hot seat this morning. Good morning, Levis.
Good morning, good morning.
Karibu sana. Thank you both for being here today. Like I said, a difficult topic, but one that's happening, interestingly enough, in the open, but also in secret, to the extent that some parents do not know that this is going on until we have grown men who may have been through assault and nobody was the wiser. So we'll talk about these things this morning. But first of all, Dennis is going to share today's proverb. Tell you where that's from. We'd love your interpretation.
Today we find ourselves in a country that is considered to be the world's oldest tourist culture. We are in Egypt. Beautiful country. And the proverb we get from Egypt is, a monkey looks like a deer in the mother's eyes. A monkey looks like a deer in the mother's eyes. Ladies, go first. How would you interpret it?
A monkey looking like a deer is probably trying to hide the real picture of something to appear like a false image of something else. Yeah.
Well, Levi, how would you interpret it?
Every parent believes the best and perceives the best for their child. So I would assume that everyone would look the best version of themselves in the eyes of the parents.
Yeah. Okay, that's true. Very true. Can do no wrong.
Yes,
I mean, for the most part, yes.
Yes.
Can do no wrong. That's true. So, I mean, like I said before, our Justice Thursday conversation today is around prosecuting sexual assault cases. Now, let's get some definitions out of the way so that we know the premise upon which we're prosecuting some of and interrogating some of these things. When we talk about sexual assault, what is that? We'll start with you, Levis. What is sexual assault? Is it different and or the same thing as sexual violence or sexual abuse?
So sexual assault is part of sexual abuse because sexual assault is any verbal, physical, or emotional sexual contact that may harm a victim or a person, and that is unwelcome. And for the purposes of today's conversation in regards to children, it's sexual violence is the wider definition of a manner of things, including rape, defilement. But sexual assault may include all these other things except physical, because these other things have a connotation of there must be physical touch, there must be physical contact. But assault expands beyond the physical touch. There is the emotional part, there is the emotional part, and the verbal part. Yes.
Verbal.
Yes.
Please expand.
Verbal sexual abuse. So where I may insult you, for example, or because of your sexual features. You have seen on social media people attacking others because of the sizes of their private parts and all those manner of things.
Okay. It's interesting because a lot now is coming to the fore that you didn't even realize there could be assault, but that people may be involved or in it. Over time, Frida, has it been targeted at girls and women more?
Yeah, over time, the society has believed that the girl child is the one that is more exposed to sexual abuse. But sexual abuse against boys, it happens. It's only that it's rarely reported because of some factors that are happening within the community and some socialization aspect part of it when boys are being brought up. Yeah.
Like what?
When we look at the cultural aspect of it, boys have been brought up to believe that they are supposed to be brave, they are supposed to be masculine. So when a boy is violated sexually and they come out to speak about it, they will be seen as weak. They are not brave enough. So that limits the number of cases that are being reported.
So when you talk about when it happens to boys, it's rarely reported. What numbers are we looking at based off what is reported and that which you think is not reported?
According to a research that was done by our partner, Family for Every Child, 1 in every 6 boys has been sexually violated.
What?
But 1 in every 6 boys has been sexually violated. But when it comes to the reporting, and when you look at the cases that have been reported, there is underreporting of the cases. And partly we know that the society, all the way the boys have been brought up, they have been brought up to, there's the silence part of it. They are so silent about it, but it's still happening in our societies.
That number is huge.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a very, very large number of, just going from these statistics that you talk about today. Is it just the fear of stigma, or this societal, cloak that Frida talks about that stops the reporting from happening? Or is it ignorance as well to the fact that it is happening? Levis.
Okay. So the biggest contributor to the lack of reporting, the biggest one is stigma.
Okay.
The way, as Frida has mentioned, the way society perceives boys to grow up and to be men and all that manner of things. But there's also the issue, as you've mentioned, rightly mentioned, the issue of ignorance amongst parents, the issue of ignorance among duty bearers and the people who are supposed to protect our boys, and even amongst the boys themselves. So the way we have been brought up, our orientation as boys and as men in our society, especially in African setup, we are very conservative, and boys have been brought up to be very masculine and to be protectors and not to be weak. And when some of these things are reported, even the parents sometimes don't want to believe. So there is also the lack of belief that this may be happening to my child. And that report that Frida has mentioned even went above and mentioned that some of these abuses have happened in very close circles, by brothers, by sisters, by parents, by very close associates of these boys that are growing up. So because of that cloud of protection and the cloud of the closeness of these people and proximity of these people who are abusing these survivors and victims, then it becomes very hard to even report. Even our judiciary and our police systems sometimes fail us because when we report, for example, as a young man, if I go and report today that I was abused sexually, it will be very hard for the police officers to believe me. And that fear and the joking side of the police and just saying that, are you sure what you're saying? And who did this? So that then becomes a very big element that hinders the reporting of these cases.
Frida, I want to look at how the police has been, because this is a violation that has happened and needs to go through the justice system. But for that to happen, then there has to be a complaint. This has to be reported. For a very long time, there has been polycare that has been set up to handle gender issues, But that has been, many say, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that has been geared towards handling women issues, right? So here we find a boy has come, a man has come, and the first thing you're told is, walikuwa umelala tu hapo pia, or ulikubali tu. I've heard someone say that they were told by the police, "Siulisikia poa," yet you've come to report a matter. If this is what is happening in these spaces, then how do we change how violations that have happened on a boy or a man would be taken seriously as those that have happened to a lady?
Okay, thank you. So the first step that we need to take is awareness creation. And I think there is a gap in the way awareness and sensitization has been done to the communities. As part of what we do at Pendekezo Letu, we create awareness to sexual abuse, not only sexual abuse, but any abuse that is done towards children. So we need to up the game on sensitization and awareness creation among our community members and across the sectors that handle child issues. Like it's a multi-sectoral approach. We need the police, we need the children actors, we need the health people in it for the healing process. So we need to do a bit more of the sensitization. And also when it comes to police, some of the boys fear going to a police station because probably there are no safe spaces. You know, you need to create a safe environment for that boy to open up and to speak to you and to trust you. But when the reception is a bit like it's not taken serious, it's like they are making a joke out of it, it becomes difficult for the boys to open up. Yeah.
Okay, let's take a few steps back here. Who is abusing
The boys.
the boys?
People in their close circles. Their parents, their siblings.
They're who?
Their parents. Some of them have reported being abused by their parents.
Okay.
Their siblings, some of them, their friends, their classmates in school. Unfortunately, even some religious leaders and their neighbors have been reported as some of the biggest contributors to some of these abuses.
And what is happening? I mean, of course, we know the timing that we're airing this, broadcasting this, but what is happening to these boys? What are we talking about here?
So majority is defilement. So, and for boys, their sexual organ are a bit different from girls. So it's what we'll classify as sodomy. But defilement, of course. So that is majorly what is happening. Some go to even to the extent you will hear of reports of oral sex by some of these boys. We were having a conversation with some young boys from Korokocho last week, and some of the things they were reporting to us were very horrifying, to say the least. That some were being paid to engage in sex with some very older women and some very old men, and some to even engage in sex amongst themselves as boys. Because as an organization, we also work with children in street situations. Some of the children in street situations have reported to be paid by people in their areas to have sex with animals.
Why?
As especially for children in street situations, when the motivation factor here is money. So you are being told that you'll be paid 100 shillings, or some of them even reported they were paid with food.
Okay. So in such situations whereby there's a commercial angle
To it.
how is this reported? Because it would appear as though there is compensation for something having been done, work, maybe, which is markedly, I mean, it's the same abuse, it's horrific, but it's markedly different from in a home situation, for example, where an uncle or an auntie or a nanny, which we also hear the cases where this happens, but it's different in that sense. So how is that reported? Can a boy come back to his family, his father, mother, and obviously the determining factor here is poverty. That if somebody's taking 100 shillings to perform sexual acts with an older person or whatever else, and is getting something in return, there is a poverty factor here that cannot be ignored.
Yes.
Now, on what basis, from an advocate's point of view, for both of you here, on what basis can you then go and report this?
So, as Freda mentioned, there is need for awareness creation on some of these things, because the boys, when they're engaging in it, as you've mentioned, there's an economic angle to it. These guys are coming from poverty, and any motivation they will take. So, but that does not negate that this is a crime that is happening to these boys, and the person that is paying them is actually just taking advantage of the circumstances of these children. So as an organization, we have taken it upon ourselves to create sensitization to the boys that whatever is happening to you is actually a crime, and we are encouraging them to report, and we are actually even working with police officers in some of the locations that some of this information came to us to follow up on some of these matters. And even as an advocate, we have taken these matters as watching brief matters, where we will be acting for the victims and survivors of some of these horrifying stories that we've had, because this is just an adult taking advantage of the socioeconomic circumstances that the boys find themselves in.
Freda, I want to look at sex trafficking, in the country among boys, because what has just been painted by the advocate seems as if this could be something that is happening in the country, or is it happening? Are we assuming it's not happening? Hence the reason why we see the numbers go up. That together with the fact that today, if you are on social media, I get concerned so much, because most of the time when you're scrolling, there's an ad that just pops up, and it is all these chat apps that do exist, and these are places where a boy would easily get into, because it is not supervised by anyone. So are we seeing these numbers first of all go up because of social media, and as well, do we see that there are increasing numbers of sex trafficking in Kenya as we speak today?
Yeah, partly the digital world is to blame for the cases that are happening. So there is sexual exploitation and sexual trafficking that is happening online. The boys might not be aware of it because there is the money aspect of it. Sexual exploitation comes with the money aspect of it. They engage maybe in sexual acts, and they are sold out. The videos or the photos are sold out. So sexual trafficking and online sexual exploitation is highly happening and still is underreported. And the technological world is partly to blame of what is happening.
So we look at these apps, and most of them are not registered in the country. Like, they're registered outside our jurisdiction. So you'd look at the apps that we have, it is in the West. So you'd find that their laws do not apply here. So even when you're trying to sue, who do you sue? Using what laws, Wakili? So then one would ask the question, because we see it's a problem that does exist, how do we go about it to protect ourselves against these apps? Do we then follow the direction that then there has to be a law passed in Kenya that would protect our boys? Are these conversations that we are having?
As an advocacy organization, one of the things that we have taken up is to increase the age where children can be able to access social media. You've seen, I think recently, I think it's either France or Norway, that passed a law that limited access to social media to 16 years old. So that is something that we have taken up as an organization to advocate for, to increase the age where children can be able to access social media. And we are also working on a framework of policy legislation where we will be talking to our legislators to increase the protective measures for the social media platforms and hold them accountable for some of these things, because it is their platforms that are used to abuse some of our children. So even as we continue to lobby for the increase in the age where children can be able to access social media, we are also trying to create a protective environment by the social media platforms, so that our children are protected in either case.
So this is one for both of you. We'll start with you, Frida. What should parents look out for if boys are being abused? And I'll tag a story, which is a case where a single mother had heard complaints from her secondary school going boy. And he said to her on a number of occasions, "I don't want to go back to school." And she thought it was just the boy acting up. And usually they would be ready to go back to school. He would have prepared his list of things that he needed. She would have gone to do the shopping. He delayed on this particular occasion to do this. And she said, "Well, send me the things that you need so that I can go and buy." Didn't do it. So she went out and she bought what she thought was necessary. And she came back and said, "We're going back to school on Sunday. Mom, I don't want to go back to this school." And again, she thought, he's acting up. Come on, he'll get over it. By the time he gets back to school, a couple of days will pass and he'll be fine. Sunday after church, they were supposed to go back to school. She was going to take him back. She opens his door and finds that he's hung himself in the morning. She later came to find out that he had been sodomized repeatedly in school. And this is after investigations finding out what was going on. This is something that she's going to have to live with for a very long time. But what would be telltale signs that there's something going on with your boy against the backdrop of the societal pressure that you've talked about, where a boy has got to be strong and can't be in touch with these emotions? What should you look out for?
Thank you. So there are several factors that will, you as a caregiver or a parent, you will notice at the very first stage that your child or a boy has been abused. So number one, they might have difficulty in the way they walk. They change style in the way their walking style. So maybe they're experiencing pain. They have some bruises in their bodies, and they tend also to be irritable. Irritability gets high, and we also have withdrawal symptoms. They want to be alone. They don't want to build relationships with other people. They don't want to associate with other people. And also when it comes to sleep, they have sleep disturbances. So someone wakes up, they have nightmares. They fear sleeping alone. For example, if a boy was sleeping in their own bedroom, they fear now being alone, especially at night. Those are some of the signs that as a parent who is watching out for their boy or their child out there, you'll be able to note something has suddenly changed about this particular child. Also, we have some behaviors that the child was initially doing when they are young. So they tend like they are going back to being a small child. So they start showing behaviors of like bedwetting. Maybe it was happening when they were young, but it has now reoccurred again. So that one should trigger you as a parent to notice that something has actually happened to the child. Yeah.
So as Frida has mentioned, majority of the things to look out are as she has mentioned, but how then do you respond as a parent once you have noted some of these things? So some of the things that we are encouraging parents to do is to create a safe environment, because unfortunately many of the boys do not have a safe environment at home or even at school where they feel they can open up on some of the things that are happening to them. If your son is bedwetting and you don't notice as a parent, and that is something that you can notice easily when you walk into their bedroom, do you think there will be, it means that the parent is so detached from the lives of the boy that they're not even available? So create a safe environment, be available to the child. And also when for example, as the example you've used, the child is telling you they don't want to go to school, you think they're acting up. Do you dig deep to find out what is the root cause of why they don't want to go back to school? If they are telling you they don't want to go to school and you're not interested in finding out why, you just assume they are acting up, what then, as a parent, what are you doing to this boy? You are actually creating a barrier for them to tell you what is happening to them.
Tone and dark marks, supporting radiant, more even-toned underarms. Combined with pure hyaluron, it helps maintain hydration and smoothness, leaving your skin soft, supple, and healthy looking. Whether you're caring for sensitivity or improving skin tone, Nivea Derma Control deodorants are designed for your skin, so you can lift your arms, move freely, and feel confident in every moment.
Our bodies get serums and washes, but underarms only get deodorant? That's why our new breakthrough formula has pure hyaluron and vitamin C to deeply care for your underarms for soft and even skin tone in 2 weeks. With 72-hour sweat and odor protection, try the new Nivea Derma Control range, because your underarms deserve more. Nivea is for skin.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
And you look at even schools, especially boarding schools. I went to boarding school, and I would tell you for a fact that at times seniors in schools would be the ones, when you talk about verbal sexual assault, they happen in schools because someone would look at you, especially if you're from a different community, you know, and you would be attacked based off your culture. You would be attacked because maybe you are a Form 1 in school. And a boy would not know where to go to, because that is a culture within the jurisdiction you find yourself in. How do these then contribute to these cases being underreported, and you find that as these boys grow up, they grow up being damaged individuals who do not know how to deal with their emotions.
Yes.
Are these areas that you're supposed to look at? What
Yes.
for you?
Yes. For example, April is the Sexual Awareness Month. And unfortunately, if you look at our media, if you look at our the lobbying that is done around that month, it's majorly around protection of girls from sexual violence. So you wonder, is it that boys are not victims? Is it that no one is talking about boys' cases and what have you? So I'd say that we are creating and have a culture of creating, especially in Kenya and in African setups, we are creating damaged men. We are creating damaged men who have been perennially abused from their childhood to their adulthood, and there is nothing they can do about it. They have been told that this is the only thing they can do, and that is how they're supposed to grow up as men. They're supposed to be hardened. They're supposed to be strong. So as an organization and as a coalition and a consortia of organizations, we came up with lobbying mechanisms to have something called the Blue Umbrella Day. So the Blue Umbrella Day is supposed to celebrate and commemorate and create a day where we speak about issues of protection of boys against sexual violence. And last year, we collected 57,000 signatures across the world to lobby the United Nations to recognize the 16th of April as an International Day for Protection of Boys Against Sexual Violence. Because as a month, we celebrate girls a lot and we protect girls a lot and create awareness around protection of girls, but we leave out the boy. And when the conversation is not happening in parliament, in the media, then even creation of safe spaces and creation of safe legislations for boys becomes very hard because no one is talking about it, and there's no day that has been created to talk about some of these things. So that is one thing that we are trying, so that these cases come to the fore, and people and legislators and policy makers and duty bearers now start addressing some of these issues, because the UN has taken recognition of it and created a day where we are specifically addressing some of these things.
Okay. We're going to take a break at this point. I want to come back and look at how we begin to deconstruct some of these societal pillars that have been set up around boys.
Yes.
Because like you said, we are growing damaged men. And we're getting to the point whereby it is a lie. It is a lie that you should not be in touch with how you feel, that you cannot be sensitive, and that you cannot share how you feel as a boy with somebody else. It's a lie, and we can call it that.
Yes.
And we can start to be the ones to have the conversation that we can overturn some of these things that have been the case. That you can scream out for help, that you can shout for help, so that we have what is disease is lack of ease, is dis-ease, and that is what is affecting our societies today. Let's come back and deconstruct that a little bit and see then perhaps what we can all do when we leave these spaces and dealing, and then how do you deal with years of trauma? Even as a grown man, how do you deal with that when nobody has had a conversation with you? We'll come back and do that. 24 minutes to 10 o'clock. Don't go away.
This is the Situation Room.